Welcome to The Power Within, the podcast that uncovers the real stories and strategies behind leadership and personal growth. I'm Keith Power, and in each episode, I sit down with inspiring individuals who faced challenges, built resilience, and discovered what it takes to lead with impact. Through their journeys, we'll explore the mindsets and tools that drive meaningful success. If you're ready to grow, lead, and unlock your true potential, you're in the right place. My guest today, Simone Ng, the founder of Simone Jewels, has built more than a jewelry business. She's built a brand rooted in personal expression, trust, and lasting relationships with her clients. When people think about jewelry, they often think about beauty, craftsmanship, and luxury. But behind every meaningful piece is something deeper: identity, story, emotion, and connection. In a world where attention is fleeting and trends come and go, Simone has focused on something far more enduring: meaning. Her journey reflects the realities of building a brand, navigating uncertainty, staying true to a vision, and learning how to lead not just a business, but herself. Today, we're going to explore what it really takes to build something of value, how identity shapes leadership, how trust is earned over time, and what it means to create work that truly resonates. Simone, welcome to The Power Within.
Thank you, Keith, for having me this morning.
I hope that your journey back from Japan was effortless.
It was a lovely trip. The sakura was in full bloom.
Oh, that's the best thing about this time.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, Simone, take us back to the beginning. What drew you into jewelry? And at what point did it become something more than just a business?
I feel that the whole process has come to a full circle. Jewelry was something I think I was meant to do. Ever since I was a young girl, I've always liked designing. I like creative things. I like dressing my friends, making them feel beautiful. And when they feel beautiful, they feel happy.
Of course.
I like sitting next to my mom and watching her sketch.
Oh,
So she does design her own jewelry. Interestingly, she sketches in 3D. And sitting beside her, trying to copy, I could never get it right. That's because I was drawing in 2D.
yeah.
I went to university after that, and then I went on to do my MBA in Melbourne. And a particular professor told us that you could turn your passion into a profession. I'm like, great. I took that with me. When I moved to Singapore, I continued to design jewelry for myself because there was a gap in the market. Most of the jewelry out there kind of repetitive, a little bit classic, very few selection for color gemstones. I was literally trying to, find things that was unique for myself. So I continued to design that for myself. And one key DNA to the jewelry is it has to be multifunctional, because if that jewelry could give me just one look, I'll get bored of it really fast. For example, like the piece I'm wearing this morning, it's a pendant, come brooch, and I could literally wear the gemstone on its own as well. Soon after, friends noticed and they say, hey, could you also design something for me? And I said, sure, why not? And I didn't realize that, that picked up quite well. My husband encouraged me. He said, maybe it's time for you to start something, see how it goes, since you love it so much and you spend most of your time designing all these beautiful things and you enjoy it. I said, sure. So my first collection, I only created 20 pieces. So I had 20 pieces. And during the launch, I sold half in 30 minutes.
Oh my goodness.
And I was like, wow, people actually resonated with it so much. And I felt really motivated to continue on.
So 20 pieces is a very small amount. So I'm imagining right now it probably appreciated in value with the scarcity value of those first pieces at first collection from you.
I believe so, definitely. With jewelry, the good thing is that there's no depreciation. It only appreciates.
Absolutely. And we mentioned Japan at the beginning, and then you're talking about your passion and turning that into a business. The Japanese have a word for it, as you probably know, ikigai, which is
Yes.
like finding that intersection of the four
Yes.
things: what you're good at, what you love, and what you can actually make money from. So that's amazing.
Yes.
And the first time I met you, two things stood out. One of them was your jewelry, of course, your earrings, and the other was your unusual hair. And, I'm a barber, believe it or not. I noticed things like that. So that was our conversation starter, the jewelry and the hair. So you've built this brand around meaning and personal connection. How do you think differently about what you're selling compared to a typical jewelry business?
When I first started exploring which 20 pieces I should make, I think the first question was not about the design or the product, but what resonates with me? What do I love? Again,
Okay.
going back to what I am really passionate about, and it was history. I love history. So even in school, I did very well in history, but not the dry, boring stuff of history, but history that taught us about love, about resilience, about beauty, that kind of history. So my pieces are inspired by history, and I use jewelry as an avenue for me to share that part. Because if I were to say, hey, let me tell you something about history, they'll run. They'll say, oh, this is not my thing. But if you love beautiful things, and I say, do you want to know what this collection is about? And I take my time to explain the history, and it helps the wearer see the story in the piece.
People these days, they identify with a story, a background. There's got to be something more to it. Very beautiful pieces, but as you say, when you then start to describe the history around it, suddenly the history itself comes alive. History can be boring. I just returned from Greece, 4 visits this year to write a book. And the book is based on Greek history, mythological history, but very much bringing that into modern leadership lens. But when you bring them together, history then comes alive, right?
It truly does.
So,
And also, history is so important. It makes us who we are today. And we learn from today to be a better tomorrow.
not
which is-
always.
Well, after many times,
Yeah.
sometimes it takes one time, sometimes many
Yeah.
times, but eventually you get there.
You sometimes wonder, with what's going on in the world right now, why we don't learn from history, politically at least. But as long as we can personally learn from history and improve ourselves, then that's fine. You talked about Melbourne and where you studied. You talked about moving to Singapore, but where are you from?
I'm actually born in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. I moved away to Perth to do my undergrad. And
Okay.
then I worked in the bank for a little while, Citibank in Malaysia. And I went back to Melbourne to do my master's, my MBA. And then I moved to Singapore.
Okay. And how long ago was that you moved to Singapore?
Oh, I've been here 25 years.
So you're Singaporean now.
I am Singaporean
Yeah.
indeed.
But when you started, let's go back to the beginning of the jewels business. What was the hardest, not operationally, but personally? You spoke about the support of your husband. That really matters, right? But on a personal level, what did you find the biggest challenge?
To remain authentic, to not forget my values. I think that as you go along in business, it's good to constantly remind myself about who I really am and not get drawn and sucked into the whole process and become a version that I may or may not like. Yeah. So I think that part has been quite challenging. Also, trying to listen to my inner voice. There's a lot of noise around me. People telling me sometimes that this design is not as good as this design. Oh, you should do this, you should do that. And sometimes there are competitors saying, oh, she's she's just a girl by appointment only. She doesn't even have a retail shop. Don't take her seriously. So there's a lot of noise around me.
But you did that through choice.
I did that through choice. So
Right.
I was not there for business.
Right.
I was there for what I love. And I love to do that for my friends and for my circle. I found that that process to me was priceless. So whatever other people said, I had to work very hard on listening to my own voice and pushing out the noise. Especially in the early days, this business is 20 years old.
Oh, wow.
20 years ago, it was still a very male-dominated industry. So as a young female coming into the scene with no background, by the way, I was self-taught.
Right.
And then later on, of course, I did my certification and all that. That also, was a lot of noise, which I had to work through and to push out and to remain confident and continue doing what I love.
I read somewhere you certified gemologist. Is that correct?
Yeah.
When you did you do that genuinely to learn more, or was that part of that inner voice proving to other people that you are valuable enough, you are good enough? Was there any of that in there?
Well, to be honest, it's both. First of all, I was very curious. I wanted to know more. And I find that everything that I learned about whether the gemstone or the making of the jewelry was fascinating. And in fact, being who I am, I like to challenge and try different ways, which drove my craftsman crazy at that time.
I bet.
But that's how we create jewelry that was different. It's important to have the certification because your client is buying something that is really valuable, and it could be in the 5 figures or 6 figures. And without certification, people who don't know you, who do not have a relationship with you yet, they do look at what qualifications
Yes.
you have to, give that kind of advice. So I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah, just hearing, and I hadn't thought about this, that it was male dominated. And to come into anything that's new, there's always the naysayers, those who want to pull you down. And just being strong, and as you said, push them away, or best of all, turn off, literally turn off. If I listened to everyone who told me I couldn't do something, I would be in the gutter now.
Exactly.
You have to trust yourself,
Yeah.
trust your inner instincts, right?
Mhm.
The other thing that struck me when we first spoke and today and the other interactions we've had, and I find it critically important, having a partner who's supportive
Mm,
of what you're doing
indeed.
and encouraging.
Yes, he plays a big role in this. He's always been the man behind me.
Yeah. Yeah, but you were the woman behind him in his business as well. So it's
So
only fair.
vice versa, we take
Yes,
turns.
absolutely only fair. So in your world, clients often buy something that's deeply personal. How do you build trust quickly, and what can break that trust?
It's all about being authentic. I'm just being myself. I love every piece I create. I want to keep every piece that I create.
That's
Because
great.
at the end of the day, I started this because I love jewelry. And I have this motto where if I can't sell the piece, it's fine. I love every piece.
You
Let
keep
me
it
keep it.
and wear it.
Yeah, and wear it. So I have to make sure that I walk the talk and the piece is good enough for it to be in my heirloom. And that is authenticity. So when my client trusts me to dress them and to advise them, they go away with more than just a product. They go away with a feeling. And they feel beautiful, they feel confident, they receive compliments, and suddenly they feel empowered. I have this particular client who couldn't really get the full attention she deserved in a boardroom.
Okay.
One day, she decided to wear the ring to work. She has been shy about wearing her jewelry because she was afraid that her bosses would think, oh, I'm paying you too much. Yeah. But everyone deserves to decide on how they want to spend in
For sure.
giving them joy. Little did she realize she had full attention that day, not only in what she was saying, but they were also staring at her ring. And they had interesting questions for her after. What is that? What is that made of? Why is it that color? And then many months later, she became the to-go person to ask for jewelry advice in case they wanted to buy something for their wives.
Wow.
So she felt amazing. She came back and she told me this story. So I think, being authentic in what I do, that translates to my client, and the joy and that empowerment that, we give to our clients through jewelry, that joy is amazing.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that before, but the empowerment part is really important, especially for a woman, right?
It is.
To feel empowered. And although we all want people to look at us and make a good judgment, really all we care about is, do we feel good about ourselves?
That's everything.
That's all that matters.
Yes.
Ultimately, right? When I first started doing podcasting, I didn't want to do video. I really think I've got a face for radio, as they say. I'm comfortable with my voice, etc. But now I won't say I don't care, and it's just a vehicle. The most important thing of my podcast is my guests. And I realize that. They look at me as accidental, and that's absolutely fine. So having that confidence within you and pleasing yourself matters the most.
Yes, indeed.
Now, one of the key things we focus on the podcast is leadership. And leadership can be leading yourself, your family, your business, etc. But how would you say, Simone, that your leadership style has grown as the business has grown?
I feel that I have evolved quite a bit from the beginning to now. When I first started, I'm still excited, but I had a lot of excitement. It was kind of like what you said just now, ikigai. I had a purpose waking up every morning, and I was like, I can't wait to get started.
Wow.
I was very hands-on because I love it so much. I wanted to do everything myself. And when I started hiring staff, team members, I found it difficult to empower others to do it because I thought it'd be quicker if I did it. And I know this is a common problem with a
Yes.
lot of entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And it took me quite a long journey to learn that the best way is really to build others up, not only to help me, but to see how they grow. Because when they grow, I grow and I learn from them as well. So these days, my leadership style is really less about me, but more about what I can do for others. And I resonate with what you said earlier. So by doing something for others, when they're happy, that feeling you get in return not only matures you, teaches you a lot of things, but that joy is priceless.
Absolutely. And they always say that the joy is in giving rather than receiving, always.
Yes.
So, but I imagine when you first had staff, you're probably a little bit of a tyrant no, I want to do it this way. I'll do it myself. Was there a little bit of that as you
No,
found your way?
absolutely not.
Come on, you could tell us.
No, I wasn't. I've always been collaborative. I always ask the person, what do you think?
Right.
What do you think about my suggestion? What do you think about this? I like to hear. But whether I do actually take their suggestions to execute, that's a separate thing. That's another world. But I feel that the best way to get everybody to, how shall I say, collaborate, it's really to ask the questions till they see the point.
Right. Yes.
Because it's important that they understand. It's not my style to say, no, I don't care, just get it done. Just do it this way, my way. I
was teasing you.
I don't believe in that.
I was teasing to
I
see
knew
the
you
reaction.
were teasing me.
So you create pieces that they symbolize love, commitment, and milestones. But how do you define your own worth separate from the success of the business?
I've always been a somewhat confident person. And my worth was never tied to the business.
Okay.
If I didn't have the business, who would I be? I will always be somebody to somebody, someone to somebody.
And to yourself most of all.
To myself, I would say in the early days, not so much. It was something I learned along the way. The business is something that has taught me a lot and it's made me who I am today, which is a better version of me, I believe. Yeah.
So the same person, just a better version.
Same person, better version, yes. And I believe that life constantly evolves.
Yeah.
And I always tell myself, no matter what, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. through my face. Every time there is a chaos in the far distance, there is always calmness. So just chill. And at the end of the day, you are alive to live a life that's full of meaning and joy. And if you follow that in your heart, you feel happy. You won't feel like you are in the rat race. You are chasing something that is difficult.
When you first you worked for Citibank in Malaysia. How long was that for?
That was for 2 years.
And did that feel a bit of a rat racey sort of feel?
It was very much a rat race. I was there for 2 years. I was in the marketing department, so doing creative things. But, being a small voice in a huge bank, I feel like I could make a lot of impact if I did something on my own.
Big organizations, they really have this problem of not being able to capture the entrepreneurial spirit, the creativity and the freedom of their staff. You all get kind of washed with the vanilla of corporate life. That's probably the most frustrating part of working for big organizations.
But someone did ask me, what's the difference, between running your own business and working for a big corporation? My answer is it's a choice in your life. Being an entrepreneur, you are in control, and it's a lifestyle that you choose.
Yeah.
Being in a corporate world, you follow what your bosses tells you to do. You don't need to think much. You just do what you're told to do and follow the process, and you get there. So it is a choice that I made consciously, and I feel that I'm happier being an entrepreneur.
I wonder if those watching now who are working in corporate roles are thinking, will I make this jump into entrepreneurial life? I didn't. I wish I had. That's the truth. I've many times said it. But when I retired from corporate life, I had a difficult time for a couple of years. But now this freedom of determining what you do, how things happen, it's so invigorating. Of course, the hard bit of leaving corporate life once you've been in it a few years is usually financial. If you do it early, it's easier. But once you've got 5, 10, 15, 20 years in, you're stuck. So I wonder if you'll prompt a few of our viewers to think about their own entrepreneurial journey. This one is probably what most people want to know about. Your pieces have been worn by well-known figures at major moments, red carpets, high-profile events, even occasions like the Oscars. What's it like seeing your work in those settings? And how do you balance that global visibility with staying true to the personal, meaningful nature of your brand?
So I'll answer this in 2 parts. The first part, me personally, I was ecstatic.
Yeah,
I'm a huge fan of many of those stars that wore my jewelry, and never did I ever expected that one day my pieces would be on them.
Are you allowed to name drop as well, Simone?
Oh, yes, I am, because it's everywhere already.
Yeah.
So recently we had Jenna Ortega wear our piece. She was nominated for one of the awards to the Golden Globes. I'm a huge fan of hers. I watch Wednesday. I think that show has a wicked sense of humor. And, we've had Taylor Swift, Rihanna, Katy Perry, Paris Hilton, just to name a few. I feel that it's surreal. It's
amazing.
I still can't believe that it happened. But what's more important to me is that the creation was appreciated by them.
Yeah.
Wow, that feeling, I'm speechless.
It brings a platform for other people to know your work as well. And I have to say, my 11-year-old daughter usually shows very little interest in my podcasting and my guests. But you, as soon as I mentioned who had worn your jewelry, oh my gosh, she wanted to know everything about it. Has she met her? That's
so
the usual
sweet.
thing.
I'd love to meet her.
Yeah, it would be great. She'll only be asking you about all Taylor Swift in particular. So as the brand grows now, 20 years is crazy. There's 2 decades looking as young as you are. As the brand grows, there's often pressure to scale, to standardize or compromise. How do you protect what makes your brand unique?
Actually, 20 years is not a long time. To build a brand, you need about 100 years. So I aim to live a very long time.
Yeah.
What does it take to make the brand stand?
Something you said earlier stuck with me, and that is that if you make something, you love it, and if you don't sell it, no one is interested. You keep it. You want it for yourself. So it's like risk is removed completely in your business. If you don't sell the stock, you keep it yourself. As simple as that, right? So, but that goes back to that point about keeping the brand unique, keeping the qualities of that, and not allowing yourself to standardize or compromise, basically. But how do you protect from that?
I think all of it happened organically. It started off with the brand being more than just known for its product. The brand is known for its storytelling. And it is the stories that sell the pieces. Sometimes vice versa, but mostly the stories, because there are so many products out there for customers to choose from. And why is this product different from the other? The big difference is the story, and the story I tell comes from my heart and my take and my spin on it. That really differentiates our brand from a lot of the other brands. And stories goes beyond just what they hear. They take away, the customers take that away, and they see how they resonate with it, and then they develop
Their own
beyond
version
that, their
of
own
that
version of
story.
that, because the way they wear it, the way they use it, the meaning they apply to it. And when it's time to pass that down as an heirloom, that piece has a lot of meaning to it. And I think that's very beautiful.
And on the product side, I remember you sharing with me, and you just touched on earlier, this interchangeability, which is unusual. So something can be a brooch, and it can be an earring, it can be whatever. How do you do that? Because I imagine from a design perspective, perhaps okay, but from the craftsman's perspective, it's pretty difficult to be able to make something that can be 2 or 3 things, right? Do you drive them crazy, your craftsmen?
I do. I mean, having a certain piece of jewelry being worn in 2 different ways, it's not something tremendously new. I mean, it's been done even in the early, I don't know, 16th century and all that. But the technique these days are different.
Yes.
And the way I want it to be worn differently, it's also a challenge. And I want a way for it to be taken apart and put together. That really drives my craftsman crazy. How do I get such ideas? I don't know. Maybe I thank God the idea just pops in my head. I'm like you. I wake up at night. Oh, I have these ideas. I need to write it down. I need to
Yes.
record it before I forget it. So all these ideas just keeps evolving. And it all stems from how can I make that piece give me multiple looks
Yeah.
so that I can increase the cost per wear for the customer, because that's how I would like it.
Yeah. And your craftsmen, you mentioned a few times, where are they based? In different places or in one location?
In the early days, I had craftsmen from different places. We had Italian, we had Thais, we had Japanese, Koreans, Hong Kongers. But over time, we've set up our own factory, and now the factory is based in Asia.
Asia to the world. So how much of building your brand has been about creative expression, and how much, I'm coming back to this question, has been about seeking validation then that you're good enough?
It's always about creative expression. And I think that's been quite obvious in the last 15, 20 minutes. It all comes from the heart. But I have to say, the seeking validation part does exist because I'm a perfectionist and I keep asking myself, is it good enough? Is it good enough? Is this good enough? And sometimes it takes a very long time before I'm satisfied with a certain design. Even if it's perfect already, I will still leave it there and stare at it for a couple more weeks to make sure it's perfect. So I don't know whether that's another form of seeking validation.
Self-validation maybe, but this perfectionism is very helpful in your business, in fairness, right? Because it's precise and it has to tell a story. It's this crossroads of creativity and craftsmanship, being able to know engineering-wise how that's going to work. You can create and imagine something, but then the reality of it working, like it's interchangeable. You put it on as a brooch and it drops off. You have to think of that. You've got valuable pieces. I'd be scared walking out with them, to be honest. I'm jewelry free. I used to wear gold when I was young, but that was seeking validation probably. These days, wedding ring and watch, that's my dress, that's it. So when I love how you said about 100 years, because when you look back at your journey so far, what have you discovered about your own power within?
Quiet conviction. I don't need to say a lot. I think action speaks louder than words, and the product speaks better than marketing. So yeah, it's quiet conviction.
We have a few mutual friends, and I think that the main marketing you've got is people talking to each other. That is your main platform, right?
Yeah.
It's fantastic now that it's at all of these awards and is raising the profile, etc. The other thing I noticed, my wife would be jealous, just reading up about you and seeing all the pictures that pop up. I've never seen you in the same outfit twice, and I've seen 50, 60, 70 photos. Your wardrobe must be huge.
Well, yes, every woman loves their fashion, but actually, you have seen the same wardrobe twice. They look different because of the way I wear the jewelry.
To accentuate or whatever. You've let everyone into the secret now. I've got less clothing as I've got older, for sure. I know what works. I'm a conservative kind of guy when it comes to clothing, and there's just a few variations. And for me, my creative expression, I don't know if our viewers ever noticed, is my pocket chief. I've
noticed. I thought the color was amazing when I first walked in.
I've got multiple colors. That's my only creative expression that I have. So listen, this is the fun part. Some quick fire questions.
Okay.
And you need to be ready, because quick fire, the first thing comes into your mind, all right? So one quality every founder must protect.
Values.
One mistake you made that taught you the most.
Think before action.
Craftsmanship versus commercial growth, which is harder to balance?
Both, they're different.
Right. That's not a cop-out. That's the truth, right? Your answer. Yeah. One word that defines your brand.
Artistic.
I would just say Simone, but there we go. The piece you've created that means the most to you personally.
All.
No, you have to choose one.
I can't.
You
should never make a woman choose this or that.
I'll make it easy. It can come from your first collection of 20. So we've narrowed it down vastly.
I didn't get to keep any. They were all sold.
Oh my goodness. And if your brand were a person, how would you describe her in 3 words?
Confident. Individualistic. Sophisticated.
And how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
Intuitive. Creative. Curious.
Always be curious. It's absolutely the best quality that we can have, for sure. We could talk all day. We really could. And I'm mindful as we sit here that there'll be different people looking in this time to normal. And I had a comment from the operations manager here earlier that he likes my podcast and follows it because there's such a variety of guests. He said a lot of people just stay in the same state mode. So I suppose I have a little bit of creativity about me, and you've just added to that today. So Simone, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me.
Today's conversation with Simone is a powerful reminder that what we build on the outside is often a reflection of what's happening within.